Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're plunging into a fascinating report that, well, it really reveals a seismic shift happening in the world of automotive components. If you thought this industry was just about nuts and bolts, prepare for a complete rethink. We're dissecting the 2025 Global Automotive Supply Chain Core Enterprise Competitiveness White Paper, a collaboration between Roland Berger and China Automotive News. Our mission: to cut through the complexity and deliver the most critical insights, giving you a shortcut to truly understanding the powerful forces reshaping this vital global industry. We'll uncover how macroeconomic turbulence, groundbreaking technological advancements, and ambitious global expansion strategies are rewriting the rulebook for everyone, from the biggest players to, emerging disruptors. Get ready for some genuine aha moments, because we're about to pull back the curtain on why some traditional powerhouses are struggling, how new players are frankly remarkably rising, and what it truly means to be an automotive supplier in this new, rapidly evolving era.
It's truly a compelling document, and what immediately stands out is just the sheer scale and speed of transformation it describes. We're far beyond incremental adjustments. This report highlights a fundamental re-architecture of the entire automotive value chain. It's a complete rethinking of how vehicles are designed, built, and sourced, impacting every single player. We'll be exploring how pervasive geopolitical shifts, escalating trade barriers, and the urgent necessity for supply chain reshaping are not just abstract economic forces, but tangible challenges and opportunities affecting global players at every level. And as we'll see, it also shines a spotlight on the incredible resilience and rapid evolution of Chinese enterprises within this highly volatile environment, even as many long-established global players face significant headwinds. This begs a crucial question. What does this fundamental reshaping imply for the future of global innovation and competition, especially as we witness power dynamics shifting and new leaders emerging in places we might not have expected?
Okay, let's start by setting the stage for 2024. The report paints a picture of a year marked by both volatility and maybe glimmers of recovery on the global macroeconomic front. What were the specific undercurrents, and how did they directly impact the automotive components sector? It sounds like a complex mix.
Indeed, it was a very complex year. The sources make it clear that global macroeconomic conditions in 2024 were characterized by a volatile mix of fluctuations and recovery. But crucially, they were also marked by persistent factors that created real headwinds for businesses everywhere. We're talking about intensified geopolitical competition, escalating trade barriers, and a significant ongoing reshaping of global supply chains. These aren't just abstract concepts. They had a measurable, very tangible impact on automotive component manufacturers. For the first time in recent years, the global major component enterprises collectively experienced negative growth in revenue.
Wow, a collective negative growth across the board for the top 100. That's quite striking. What does that actually mean in terms of numbers?
It's a sobering indicator, yeah. We're talking about a 5.07% year-on-year decrease in total revenue for the top 100 enterprises, bringing their combined revenue down to 8,245.68 billion RMB. This statistic alone signals immense growth pressures amidst a complex external environment and a deep industry transformation that's still very much in progress. The core insight here is that even established giants who have long dominated this space are truly feeling the squeeze, forcing them to reevaluate fundamental aspects of their operations and strategy. It suggests that the traditional ways of doing business are simply, well, no longer sufficient in this new global reality.
That aggregate downturn is significant, but the report also points out that not everyone was in the same boat, right? It seems some regions actually defied this challenging trend, indicating a significant divergence in performance. Who were the outliers?
Precisely. While the global aggregate was clearly under pressure, with many traditional players struggling, the sources highlight that both Chinese and U.S. enterprises actually bucked the general downturn, performing countercyclically. For Chinese enterprises, the data shows a remarkable 9% year-on-year revenue growth for listed companies in 2024.
9%. That's substantial growth in that environment.
It really is. This isn't just about maintaining, it's about significant expansion. Beyond that, China also led globally in the number of new entrants to the top 100 list, adding 4 companies. This notable growth is explicitly attributed to a powerful dual-wheel drive, strong domestic demand recovery, and a surge in export expansion. Crucially, it's also spurred by an acceleration in domestic substitution for core components in new energy vehicle, NEV, and intelligent vehicle sectors, where China is making rapid advancements. This indicates that Chinese enterprises have rapidly adapted to new trends and actively pursued strategic layouts that position them for growth, even in a difficult market.
So China's growth is driven by both internal market strength and exports, plus this push for domestic solutions in new energy. What about the U.S. companies? How did they manage to grow?
Similarly, U.S. enterprises saw a commendable 5% year-on-year revenue increase. Their success primarily benefited from the reshoring of the North American automotive supply chain and stable orders from domestic automakers, largely driven by policies and economic incentives designed to bring manufacturing back home. So the core insight here is that while the global market faced immense pressure, distinct regional dynamics and strategic responses allowed China and the U.S. to not just survive, but to expand while others contracted.
And conversely, it sounds like the traditional powerhouses in the automotive component world, Europe, Japan, and Korea, seem to be struggling significantly under these new global conditions. What exactly is happening in those historically dominant regions that's causing this widespread pressure?
The situation in traditional strong markets like Europe, Japan, and Korea is quite different from the U.S. and China. The sources detail their struggles quite explicitly. Korean-listed enterprises, for instance, experienced the most significant revenue decline among these regions, a sharp 19% year-on-year drop.
19%.
Yeah, a dramatic decrease. This was largely influenced by substantial revenue decreases from leading power battery manufacturers like LG Energy Solution and Samsung SDI, highlighting their reliance on a sector that faced specific challenges related to pricing and market shifts.
That's a huge drop for Korea, especially given their strength in batteries. What about Japan and Europe? Were they hit as hard?
Well, Japanese companies, despite a slight increase in the number of their listed entities, were mostly concentrated in traditional automotive segments. This made them particularly vulnerable. They couldn't really withstand the structural shift in demand towards new energy and intelligent vehicle components, resulting in a 7% year-on-year revenue fall. European-listed enterprises collectively saw a massive reduction of 259.5 billion RMB in overall revenue.
Huge numbers.
Absolutely. Within Europe, Germany, a traditional automotive hub and powerhouse, experienced an approximately 10% decrease, which is a significant indicator of the challenges to Europe's long-standing automotive dominance. Their struggles are attributed to several interconnected factors: market sluggishness across their key regions, major clients' slower than expected new energy transitions compared to the rapid pace seen elsewhere.
Like in China, for example.
Exactly. And substantial investments that haven't yielded quick returns, leading to a strain on their financial performance. The critical insight here is that the structural shift towards electrification and intelligence is profoundly challenging even the most established players, highlighting a true test of adaptability and speed. This begs an important question. How are these growing regional disparities going to further reshape the global competitive landscape in the coming years, and what implications does this have for long-term strategic alliances and market shares?
So we've seen this global upheaval impacting regions differently. But what does this all mean for the competitive landscape among individual companies within this shifting industry? The report mentions fierce competition. How intense is it really, and are there any companies managing to buck these challenging trends?
The competitive landscape is indeed described as fierce, or in the original Mandarin, Yuzhuo, which vividly conveys an anxious, intense struggle, a truly apt description for the current environment. The sources state that in 2024, the overall revenue of the global top 20 component enterprises actually declined by 4.3% compared to 2023.
The top 20 even shrunk.
Yes, 4.3%. This points to a significant growth bottleneck for the industry as a whole, particularly as it continues to emerge from the pandemic, faces rising cost pressures across the board, and undergoes an accelerating electrification transformation. It's a very challenging environment where even the largest players are finding it difficult to expand.
So the top 20, the biggest names, are shrinking on average. But you mentioned some companies defied this. Who are they and how did they manage it? That seems remarkable.
What's truly remarkable, is that despite this overall downturn, 3 companies managed to achieve inverse growth, demonstrating incredible resilience and strategic agility that allowed them to defy the industry trend. These were Magna, Cummins, and Schaeffler, with impressive year-on-year increases of 1.6%, 20.0%, and a staggering 56.5% respectively.
56.5%.
For Schaeffler.
56.5, staggering. This showcases that while the tide was going out for most, these specific players found ways to not just stay afloat, but surge ahead, indicating a clear differentiation in strategic effectiveness. The core insight in a contracting market: exceptional growth is possible, but it requires highly targeted and innovative strategies.
Those are incredible numbers, especially Schaeffler's almost 57% jump. That's almost unheard of in a shrinking market. How did Magna, Cummins, and Schaeffler manage to achieve such significant growth when the rest of the top 20 were struggling and the overall market was contracting? They must have had some truly unique strategies, right? Their success was indeed driven by distinct and exceptionally well-executed strategic factors, which the report details as full-stack solutions, emerging businesses, regional balance, and cost optimization. These are not just buzzwords. They represent concrete actions that offer critical insights into thriving in a challenging market. Let's look at Magna first. Their growth came from strategically expanding their full-stack solutions. The report explicitly mentions their acquisition of Veoneer Active Safety business. This wasn't just a simple purchase. It allowed Magna to complete a comprehensive ecosystem ranging from fundamental hardware components, think advanced cameras and precision radars, to sophisticated software, including complex algorithms and powerful domain controllers.
Ah, so hardware and software integrated.
Exactly. By doing so, they could offer complete auxiliary driving modules and systems, integrating various components into a seamless, comprehensive package. This directly resonated with evolving OEM demands for integrated solutions, shifting their offering from individual parts to a complete, high-value system.
So Magna moved from just providing parts to offering an entire integrated system for things like assisted driving. That's a significant shift. What about Cummins? How did they manage a 20% jump?
Right. Cummins' impressive 20% growth was primarily due to the expansion of its emerging large horsepower business. Right. What's fascinating here is the specific mention of how artificial intelligence, or AI development, is driving demand for their generator sets in data centers.
Data centers, so outside traditional auto.
Precisely. This clearly shows how they're capitalizing on broader technological trends and infrastructure needs outside traditional automotive, demonstrating an acute awareness of adjacent market opportunities. Additionally, Cummins embraced a forward-looking multi-fuel platform strategy with its SELM series, designed to cover a range of scenarios including diesel, natural gas, and, crucially, hydrogen. This allows them to meet diverse customer needs for low-carbon transitions, adapting flexibly to the varying paces and preferences of different markets in the global move towards sustainability, ensuring they remain relevant regardless of the specific fuel adopted.
That's smart diversifying beyond just traditional automotive into areas like data centers and being ready for different fuel types. And finally, Schaeffler, with that astounding 56.5% growth, how did they pull that off?
Yeah, Schaeffler's astounding 56.5% growth is a testament to its strategic regional balance and meticulous cost optimization. They reinforced their relationships with local suppliers in Europe, which helped with supply chain stability and responsiveness. But here's where it gets particularly innovative. They adopted a nearshore outsourcing strategy in Mexico for producing electric drive systems and chassis components.
Nearshoring to Mexico. Makes sense for North America.
Exactly. This strategic choice minimizes supply chain risks and costs compared to distant outsourcing, while also bringing production physically closer to key markets like North America, allowing for faster delivery and better responsiveness. Simultaneously, they strengthen vertical supply chain integration by self-developing core components such as harmonic reducers and integrated motor controllers. This move reduced their reliance on external procurement for critical parts, enhancing control over quality and cost. The core insight from these three cases is that adaptability, whether through expanding solution offerings, capitalizing on emerging tech trends, or optimizing global supply chains, is what truly sets market leaders apart in turbulent times.
That's a fantastic granular look at how these global giants are navigating a challenging period, and it clearly shows tailored strategies are essential. Now let's pivot to China. The report says China's auto component industry is growing, but also facing new challenges, like slowing profit growth and increased concentration. What's going on there, and how is it different from the global picture we just discussed?
Okay, China. The picture is one of continued growth in overall scale and profit, especially in the new energy vehicle, NEV, and intelligentization sectors, which are driving significant R&D investment. These sectors are clearly the new engines of growth. However, the sources note that traditional component businesses, despite a post-pandemic rebound in some areas, are generally on a downward trajectory, indicating a pronounced and accelerating industry differentiation.
That's the clear split.
A definite split. This means the industry is splitting, with some parts booming and others fading rapidly. The report highlights a trend of overall scale and total profit growth slowing, head effect prominent. For 2024, the overall revenue growth for Chinese component enterprises slowed to just 2% year-on-year.
Only 2% after that 9% figure earlier.
Just 2% overall, yeah. This deceleration is attributed to multiple interconnected factors: the broader macroeconomic environment, the intense price wars that have become characteristic of the automotive industry in China, and the stable but not booming development of the commercial vehicle market.
So, a slowdown in overall growth, but a split within the industry. Where are those internal divisions most apparent?
What's particularly interesting is the internal split within China's automotive components sector. Passenger vehicle component sales saw a respectable 7.7% increase, reflecting strong consumer demand in that segment. In stark contrast, commercial vehicle components declined by 1.0%, indicating very different market dynamics. The three electric systems, meaning the battery, electric motor, and electronic control units, along with traditional internal combustion engines, still constitute the primary sources of revenue, collectively accounting for about 60%.
Still the bulk of the revenue.
Right. But their growth momentum is limited, contributing to the overall slowdown. In sharp contrast, sectors like electronics, tires, wheels, and chassis, despite being more fragmented and smaller in overall scale, maintained rapid growth exceeding 10%. This reveals significant structural highlights and strong development resilience in these specific, often technology-intensive areas, clearly suggesting where the future growth potential lies within the Chinese market. The core insight here is that China's auto component market isn't just growing, it's undergoing a profound internal rebalancing, shifting from traditional mechanics to electrification and intelligence.
So even with slower overall revenue growth, the report clearly mentions a head effect, where top companies are thriving and pulling away from the pack. Can you elaborate on that, and what does it tell us about the future structure of the Chinese automotive component industry?
Absolutely. The head effect is a critical and intensifying trend that signals a fundamental shift in the industry's power structure. Despite the overall slowdown in income growth across the sector, leading enterprises saw their net profits grow significantly by 19%.
19% profit growth while revenue slows. That's efficient.
Very efficient. This demonstrates remarkably strong profitability resilience, even in a challenging market. This indicates a powerful profit gravitational pull towards the top tier of companies. In 2024, profit accelerated its concentration within this top tier, meaning that the largest players are not just growing, but they are capturing a disproportionate share of the total profits. The sources state that the top 10 enterprises collectively accounted for a staggering 72% of the total profit generated by 75 companies in the Chinese top 100.
72%. That's incredible concentration.
It's an immense concentration of wealth and influence, signaling that size, scale, and strategic positioning are becoming increasingly critical for financial success.
That's a massive disparity, 72% of the profit among just the top 10 companies. And you mentioned a striking difference in profitability between new energy vehicles and traditional engines, even with similar revenues. Can you dive deeper into that?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, particularly in the powertrain domain, we see a striking disparity. New energy vehicle segments, despite having similar revenue scales to traditional engine segments, achieve 3 times the profit level.
3 times the profit.
3 times. This underscores the superior profitability of new energy technologies and clearly explains why the industry is rapidly shifting its focus and investment towards electrification. This isn't just a technological shift, it's a profound economic one. The core insight is that the future of profitability in Chinese auto components lies overwhelmingly in NEVs. This raises an important question. How will this intensifying concentration of profit at the top, driven largely by the new energy and intelligentization sectors, affect the innovation and sustainability of smaller traditional players in the market? Will they be able to compete, or will this lead to further consolidation and market dominance by a few key players?
That's a massive disparity, 3 times the profit for new energy vehicles with similar revenue scales. So, within the new energy sector itself, is there also a head effect? Or is it more diverse and open to new players? And how about the other segments the report mentioned, like electronics and chassis?
Right, within the new energy sector, the sources highlight a clear head concentration, while intelligentization is described as blooming everywhere or blooming with 100 flowers, indicating a more diverse and fragmented landscape. In the new energy segment, particularly for power batteries, CATL, Contemporary Amperex Technology Co. Limited, exhibits overwhelming dominance. It accounts for an astounding 80% of the overall segment's revenue and a remarkable 92% of its profits.
92% of the profit. That's incredible. CATL is practically synonymous with NEV batteries in China then. How do they maintain such a strong lead?
The report attributes CATL's sustained leadership to several formidable factors. Its continuous technological innovation, citing examples like their supercharging capabilities, Quinlan battery, and Shaanxi PLAS LFP batteries, which are industry benchmarks. They also strategically pursue global local positioning, particularly in Europe, ensuring they're integrated into international supply chains. Furthermore, they are engaging in brand upgrading towards a B2B2C business to business to consumer model, making their brand relevant even to the end user and building a closed-loop ecosystem for supercharging and battery swapping services. However, the report also acknowledges that even CATL has faced pressure on overall revenue growth due to declining battery prices, illustrating the intense competitive environment even for market leaders.
So dominance isn't easy, even for CATL. What about the traditional engine segment and then those faster growing, more dispersed areas like electronics and chassis?
Okay, in the engine segment, Weikai Group similarly shows strong leadership, accounting for 72% of the segment's revenue and 73% of its profit. This suggests a highly concentrated market for traditional internal combustion engines. However, the sources caution that with declining sales in niche markets like commercial vehicles, mid to lower tier engine manufacturers face continuous losses and significant transformation challenges, indicating that this segment is under severe pressure. In contrast to the high concentration in NEV batteries and traditional engines, the electronics, tires, wheels, and chassis sectors are described as relatively dispersed, but experiencing faster overall growth. For electronics, industrial clusters are forming in regions like the Pearl River Delta and Yangtze River Delta, creating vibrant ecosystems. Leading enterprises are increasing R&D investment, accelerating technological iteration, and enhancing efficiency through vertical and synergistic integration across their operations. They are also strategically planning for second growth curves and accelerating international expansion, often characterized by an investment for the future approach, signifying a forward-looking strategy beyond immediate returns. The tire and wheel sector has undergone a new round of capacity culling, which has inadvertently strengthened the head concentration as weaker players exit the market. In 2024, this segment saw a healthy 14.5% year-on-year revenue increase.
14.5% for tires is pretty good.
Yeah, very solid. With the surge in NEV production and opportunities from international localization, they're pushing for domestic substitution through cost optimization and technological breakthroughs, leveraging China's manufacturing advantages. Finally, the chassis segment has seen rapid net profit growth due to continuous product innovation and technological monetization, effectively turning their R&D into tangible profits. Leading companies are actively extending into cutting-edge areas like steer-by-wire chassis and robotics and focusing on clear commercialization pathways for these advanced technologies. They've already started to penetrate developed markets and overseas OEMs, building a powerful technology plus channel combined advantage. The core insight here is that China's auto components industry is a mosaic, highly concentrated in some established and new segments, but dynamic and dispersed in others, with electronics and chassis showing significant innovation potential.
That's a very detailed breakdown of the internal dynamics in China. And it sounds like there's a strong connection between these growth areas and technological innovation, especially in electronics and intelligentization. Are new entrants contributing significantly to this tech-driven shift, or is it mostly established players adapting?
Absolutely. The sources confirm that new entrants are indeed a direct reflection of this tech-driven shift and are significantly contributing to it. Out of the 10 new Chinese companies that made it onto the 2025 China Top 100 list, more than half have their main businesses related to electronics and intelligentization.
More than half are new tech players. Interesting.
Exactly. This directly reflects the continuous upgrading and changing demands of the market, where new technologies are creating new opportunities and new players to seize them. Simultaneously, it's worth noting that traditional automotive components and businesses are also showing healthy development, indicating that while new tech is ascendant, the core of the industry is still robust.
It's interesting. New tech players are making their way into the top 100. And you mentioned a geographical aspect to this growth. Where is this high growth happening?
Yeah, what's truly fascinating here is the geographical distribution of high-growth companies. Between 2021 and 2024, nearly half of the high-growth enterprises, specifically 10 out of 19, were located in the Yangtze River Delta region, encompassing Zhejiang, Shanghai, and Jiangsu.
The Yangtze River Delta, why there specifically?
Well, it's primarily due to the region's exceptionally complete industrial chain and robust economic development momentum, creating a fertile ground for innovation and rapid expansion. Other regions like the Bohai Rim, Beijing, Tianjin, Hebei, and the Southeast Coast also have industrial bases, but significantly fewer high-growth companies, with the Pearl River Delta and Central regions having only one each. This underscores the profound importance of well-developed regional industrial clusters in fostering rapid growth and technological advancement. Moreover, these high-growth component enterprises are characterized by their strong focus on technology leadership. On average, their R&D investment accounts for 5.1% of their total revenue, which is significantly higher than the 4.0% average for the overall China Top 100.
So higher R&D spend correlates with growth.
Directly. This higher R&D investment is directly linked to stronger resilience and profitability, creating a virtuous cycle where innovation leads to better financial performance. The report explicitly states that under the dual drivers of stable economic improvement and technological innovation, component enterprises can achieve a virtuous cycle of quantity and profit double growth. These 19 high-growth enterprises collectively contributed a substantial 54.2% of the total profit of the China Top 100, further solidifying the head effect we discussed earlier, but specifically tying it to tech-focused companies. The core insight is that in China, the future belongs to tech-centric companies clustered in innovation-rich regions. This raises an important question. How will this concentrated R&D investment and profitability in leading tech-focused companies influence the competitive dynamics for the rest of the market, particularly for those unable to match this level of innovation?
So R&D is clearly a massive differentiator for success. What do the overall R&D investment trends look like for Chinese component companies across the board, and how are these investments being strategically allocated?
Okay, overall trends. The sources indicate that R&D investment among the top 100 Chinese component enterprises remained remarkably stable in 2024, which in itself, given the turbulent global environment, is a positive sign. The total R&D expenditure for listed companies reached 81.1 billion RMB, accounting for 4.0% of their business revenue, which is consistent with the 3.9% recorded in 2023. This suggests a sustained commitment to innovation. What's fascinating here is not just the overall amount, but the strategic distribution of this investment. New energy and electronic sectors are leading significantly in R&D investment, reflecting their status as the high-growth, high-profit areas we discussed earlier. In contrast, the engine and chassis sectors have seen noticeable reductions in R&D spending, which aligns with the structural shift away from traditional components.
So they're not just investing generally, they're strategically funneling R&D into the highest potential areas. Can you give us some examples of how concentrated this R&D effort is?
Absolutely. Chinese leading component enterprises concentrate their R&D efforts significantly, demonstrating a clear strategic focus. For example, CATL alone accounts for a dominant 74% of the R&D investment in the new energy sector.
74% by one company.
Yes, Weitai commands 60% in the engine sector, and a combination of Joyson Electronics and Desay SV account for 54% in the electronic sector. This demonstrates a clear strategy of focusing resources where they expect the highest returns and where they aim to maintain or establish market leadership. Furthermore, Chinese leading component enterprises are placing even greater emphasis on technological innovation, with R&D investment growing faster in electronics and tires wheels, indicating these are areas of high future potential. The new energy and electronic sectors also exceeded the industry average in R&D investment in 2024 and have accumulated the largest share of R&D personnel, accounting for 22.2% and 17.2% respectively. The core insight here is a deliberate and concentrated push for future dominance in specific high-tech domains within the auto component industry.
It's clear that technology is driving huge changes across the board. The report talks about intelligentization and electrification bringing disruptive transformation. What does that really mean for the auto industry's structure, and how fundamentally is it reshaping things beyond just the vehicles themselves?
Right. If we connect this to the bigger picture, intelligentization and electrification are indeed driving what the sources call disruptive transformation within the automotive industry. This is not just an upgrade. It's a fundamental paradigm shift that's profoundly influencing its development and creating entirely new patterns for component enterprises. What's fascinating here is that intelligentization is highlighted as the core trend. It serves as the foundational technology for new paradigms like shared mobility and innovative travel business models, enabling entirely new ways people interact with and utilize vehicles. It has fundamentally reshaped the traditional automotive value chain structure and division of labor, accelerating its evolution towards new paradigms such as software-defined vehicles, where software dictates functionality.
Where the car becomes more like a smartphone on wheels. Exactly. Platform-based architectures, allowing for modular development, and sophisticated electric drive systems that replace traditional powertrains.
So the car itself is becoming less a collection of mechanical parts and more a software platform. What does this mean for component suppliers who were traditionally focused on hardware? Precisely. This isn't just about adding new features. It's about redefining the very nature of a car. For component suppliers, this brings both unprecedented opportunities as new value pools emerge and significant challenges as their traditional roles are upended. The report emphasizes that technological thresholds, innovation capabilities, and ecosystem integration capabilities have become critical variables for enterprises to break through and reconstruct their competitive advantages. The existing supply system is undergoing a profound reshaping, and the division of labor within the industrial chain is evolving towards a more dynamic and diversified pattern where collaboration, partnerships, and system-level thinking are paramount. The core insight, the future of auto components, is inextricably linked to software and system integration. This raises an important question. How are traditional boundaries between hardware and software, and between vehicle manufacturers and suppliers blurring, and what new organizational structures will emerge to manage these increasingly intertwined domains?
So, if the very nature of the car is changing, it logically follows that the value itself is shifting within the vehicle. Where are these new value high grounds now, and how are they different from the traditional sources of automotive value, like, say, the engine or the transmission?
The value reshaping is indeed profound, moving significantly away from traditional mechanical components. The sources clearly state that new value high grounds are emerging primarily in the three electrics. That is, the power battery, the electric motor, and the electronic control units, along with intelligent driving systems and intelligent cockpit systems. These core component segments are achieving simultaneous leaps in market scale, growth speed, and technological development, gradually becoming the new centers of industry value. This is where the bulk of investment and profitability is now concentrated. For example, in the electric drive domain, market concentration is currently relatively low, suggesting future consolidation where leading enterprises will likely expand their market share significantly as the industry matures. In stark contrast, power batteries have already formed a highly concentrated competitive landscape where electrochemical technology strength and supply chain integration capabilities are core competitive factors, reiterating the dominance we saw with CATL.
Back to CATL again.
Yes, they're central here. For intelligent cockpit and intelligent driving fields, the Matthew effect, where the rich get richer and the leaders further solidify their positions, is increasingly evident. Leading enterprises are building strong moats through technological accumulation and algorithmic advantages, making technological iteration speed and software development capabilities absolutely crucial for success. The core insight is that we're seeing a fundamental and irreversible shift from traditional mechanical value like engines and transmissions to software as electrification-driven value, fundamentally changing where profitability resides within the vehicle and who captures it.
That leads us to a really interesting point. The relationship between vehicle manufacturers and component suppliers, what the report calls whole vehicle component collaboration. How is that changing, especially with this shift towards more integrated systems and software-defined vehicles?
This is where it gets truly transformative, as the vehicle development model is undergoing a massive shift from a distributed architecture to an increasingly centralized one. Traditionally, a vehicle was a collection of individual functional domains, each with its own separate controllers and software, operating somewhat independently. But the unmistakable trend is towards domain fusion, where related functions are brought together into single, powerful computing units, then moving towards zonal architectures, which organize vehicle functions by physical location, and eventually moving towards a true central computer that controls most vehicle operations.
The car's brain, basically.
Essentially, yes. The sources highlight that mainstream OEMs are currently in the stage of evolving from these traditional functional domains to domain fusion, a critical intermediate step. This means that component enterprises urgently need to develop system-level solution capabilities that go far beyond just supplying individual products or parts. They need to provide integrated, holistic solutions for entire functional areas.
So, no more just selling a single brake caliper, but an entire smart braking system that communicates with the car's central brain. That's a huge leap. Are all areas of the vehicle moving towards the centralized model at the same pace?
Well, the report explicitly states that unlike the more advanced intelligent cockpit and intelligent driving domains, the centralized development models for chassis and power domains have not yet been fully implemented.
Okay, so some areas are lagging a bit.
A bit, yes. However, the next 3 to 5 years are identified as a critical window for accelerated transformation in these fundamental areas. This means component companies must effectively integrate individual component product technologies to achieve function domain-level development and support capabilities, supplying not just a brake caliper, but a complete braking system that integrates with the vehicle's central intelligence. Furthermore, they need flexible cross-domain technical integration capabilities to adapt to the varying scope of component matching demands from different OEMs, as each automaker might define its domains slightly differently. The core insight here is that component suppliers are rapidly evolving from mere parts providers to comprehensive system solution partners, demanding a completely different skill set, a collaborative approach. This raises an important question. How challenging is it for traditional hardware suppliers, who have historically focused on mechanical precision, to suddenly develop advanced software and intricate system integration capabilities that are now paramount for success?
With this radical shift, it sounds like the OEMs are also rethinking their own R&D strategies, possibly bringing more development in-house, especially for core technologies. What does that mean for suppliers who used to be the primary developers of many of these complex systems? Is this a threat or an opportunity?
This is a key dynamic that the report addresses. The trend of whole vehicle self-R&D is indeed deepening, with OEMs aiming to control more of the core technology. However, the sources argue that a long-term return to an efficiency-first supplier model is the ultimate trend that the industry will inevitably revert to.
So OEMs doing everything isn't sustainable.
Likely not in the long run. The relationship between OEMs and component enterprises, from intelligent driving to chassis and power, is actively exploring new collaborative models. The decoupling of hardware and software, a fundamental shift in vehicle architecture, means that integrated hardware-software integrated procurement is no longer a mandatory, all-encompassing option.
Yeah.
OEMs are now more flexibly adopting a hybrid self-R&D plus external procurement strategy. The sources explicitly state that fully outsourced models are decreasing because OEMs prioritize increasing their control over crucial core technologies, particularly in software and key electronic components that define the user experience and vehicle capabilities.
So OEMs want more control over the secret sauce that differentiates their vehicles, but they can't do everything themselves. What kind of collaboration is emerging then?
Right. This has led to a growing preference for gray box-by-box open supply models, which allow for greater transparency and collaboration on development, as well as deeper binding opportunities through joint ventures or strategic collaborations. What's fascinating here is the report's crucial point. Full-stack self-R&D by OEMs, while attractive for control, has incredibly high investment thresholds and can lead to duplicated investment across multiple automakers, making it unsustainable as a mainstream choice for the entire industry. Therefore, as technology matures and efficiency becomes paramount, the industry will eventually revert to a supplier cooperation model that prioritizes efficiency and leverages the specialized expertise of component companies. The core insight is that suppliers are evolving into indispensable, integrated development partners, not just vendors, by emphasizing their efficiency and specialized capabilities in core domains.
So the traditional Tier 1, Tier 2 structure, where suppliers fit neatly into layers, that seems to be changing drastically. What new role are component enterprises expected to play in this evolving landscape? The report actually mentions a new term, Tier Point 5. Can you explain that?
Yes, Tier Point 5. This is the essence of the component enterprise role deep transformation. The report posits that the traditional model, where OEMs followed a distributed vehicle development architecture and component enterprises acted as independent suppliers of hardware-software coupled single components, is fundamentally over. That era, characterized by discrete parts and limited integration, is giving way to a new paradigm. The future trend is towards OEMs adopting domain-centralized domain fusion architectures, with agile development accelerating model iteration and bringing new vehicles to market at unprecedented speeds. In this new, more integrated paradigm, component enterprises will transform into subsystem solution service providers.
Solution providers, not just parts providers.
Exactly. This means they must possess domain fusion and cross-domain technical capabilities to offer comprehensive system-level solutions, not just individual parts. This signifies a profound move from being a mere parts provider to a truly strategic solutions partner, deeply embedded in the vehicle's functional development. The industry will increasingly emphasize cross-domain technology integration, deep collaboration with OEMs, and flexible supply chain management to adapt to rapidly changing market demands and technological advancements.
So a Tier Point 5 is essentially a super supplier, right? Someone who can provide a whole integrated system rather than just a part.
Exactly. This fundamental shift will reshuffle and reshape the component industry landscape, creating both winners and losers. The sources introduce this new key role, Tier 0.5, which will become critical in the future market. These are enterprises characterized by having single-domain or multi-domain system-level capabilities, allowing them to deliver complex, integrated solutions for specific functional areas of the vehicle. Crucially, they also offer flexible cooperation models, adapting to the varying needs of OEMs, whether it's a gray box collaboration for joint development or a more traditional supplier relationship for certain components. The core insight is that the industry is creating a new class of highly capable integrated solution providers that bridge the gap between traditional suppliers and the vehicle manufacturer's core R&D. This raises an important question. What fundamental challenges do traditional component companies, particularly those focused on mechanical hardware, face in making this leap from a product supplier to a comprehensive system service provider, especially in terms of transforming their organizational structure, R&D capabilities, and talent pool?
That's a significant evolution of roles, requiring a complete reimagining of what a supplier is. Another major trend mentioned is component going overseas, indicating a significant outward expansion for Chinese companies. What's driving this ambitious global push for Chinese component manufacturers, and how does it fit into their overall growth strategy?
Right? The drive for component going overseas is a strategic imperative for Chinese leading component enterprises, reflecting a maturing industry and a need for new growth. They are closely following the globalized trend of the automotive industry, accelerating their global layout or strategic footprint to unlock new growth spaces and market opportunities beyond their domestic market. The sources cite Joyson Electronics and CATL as leading examples of companies that have seen sustained growth in overseas market revenue. This diversification of their income sources is crucial, building a solid foundation for a long-term stable development by reducing reliance on any single market. As the global automotive market continues to evolve and demand grows, the expansion of Chinese component enterprises' overseas business is seen as a crucial, non-negotiable driver for future growth and competitive advantage.
So it's not just about more sales, but also about diversifying risk and finding new growth avenues. What are the specific strategies Chinese companies are using to expand internationally?
The report identifies several key, sophisticated strategies for this expansion. Chinese component enterprises should wisely seize the opportunities presented by Chinese OEMs going overseas, leveraging their established relationships to enter international markets as their clients expand.
Riding the coattails of the OEMs, essentially.
To some extent, yes, it's a symbiotic growth. They also need to adapt to local conditions when implementing their business, using diverse approaches such as local factory construction, whole vehicle export, CBU completely built unit for certain components, and strategic joint ventures to achieve business growth, rather than a one-size-fits-all model. Regarding specific categories, the sources highlight that 3 electrics and intelligent components are leading this high-speed growth in overseas markets.
Because China's strong in that tech.
Exactly. This is primarily due to China's global leadership in technology and efficiency within these cutting-edge sectors. Traditional components, such as tires and electromechanical parts, show a steady penetration into overseas markets, often relying on their established cost advantages and growing market acceptance.
That makes sense. China has a strong lead in NEV and intelligent tech. What about what international customers are looking for from these Chinese suppliers? Are they prioritizing the same things as Chinese domestic OEMs?
That's a good point. The report details key purchasing factors for international customers, offering crucial insights for Chinese suppliers. Firstly, cost competitiveness is becoming increasingly important due to global economic pressures and intense market competition. Secondly, international customers have stricter requirements for quality stability and supply chain resilience, demanding robust and reliable operations. What's fascinating here is that conversely, international customers' requirements for technological novelty and agile development response are actually lower than in the hyper-competitive Chinese domestic market.
Really? Lower expectations for cutting-edge tech.
Relatively lower, yes. This means Chinese suppliers can leverage their strengths effectively, their cost-performance ratio, and establish quality, rather than needing to constantly push the bleeding edge of innovation in every market. The client expansion paths are primarily twofold, either by replacing existing overseas OEM suppliers with superior cost-performance advantages, or by directly accompanying Chinese car enterprises in their overseas ventures, building integrated supply chains globally. The business landing methods are also evolving. Traditional methods include finished product export, like Linglong Tire, and M&A, like Joyson, YU. However, new and increasingly prevalent trends include overseas factory construction, like CATL's German factory and Richuan's Hungarian factory, and local joint ventures, like YU Zhengda's Thai company. The core insight here is that Chinese component companies are undertaking a sophisticated, multifaceted, and adaptive approach to global expansion, moving beyond simple export to deep local integration and strategic partnerships.
Beyond just automotive, are these leading component companies diversifying their business into other areas? The report mentions external expansion as a strategy for building competitive advantage. Is this a common trend?
Indeed, external expansion into other industrial sectors is a notable and growing trend among leading Chinese component enterprises. They are broadly diversifying their businesses, consciously focusing on cutting-edge technological fields, and strengthening their core capabilities to build a truly robust and multifaceted competitive advantage. Their business scope extends widely beyond just the automotive industry, encompassing industries like industrial equipment, energy solutions, and broader transportation sectors. This diversification covers not just components, but also complete products and solution services, demonstrating a strategic move up the value chain.
So they're not just automotive suppliers anymore, they're becoming diversified tech providers. What specific new domains are they targeting?
Well, these leading companies are concentrating on new quality productive forces, essentially, advanced innovation-driven industries and other new technology domains. Their business closely follows broader industry development trends, actively targeting high-potential innovation segments such as robotics, advanced new energy solutions, and intelligent equipment. The report emphasizes that for these enterprises, core capabilities are the solid foundation for this business expansion. Elements like intelligent manufacturing capabilities, sophisticated software control technology, and well-established supply chain resources are crucial safeguards for rapidly achieving breakthroughs in new businesses and moving toward success. The core insight is that these leading Chinese component companies are exhibiting strategic foresight, not just reacting to automotive trends, but actively shaping and participating in broader industrial transformations, positioning themselves as diversified technology providers rather than just automotive suppliers.
Let's dive deeper into specific technology trends. The report states that software and system integration are becoming critical for automotive components. What does intelligentization upgrade truly mean for component companies in terms of their R&D and product development?
The intelligentization upgrade is a pivotal trend that is pushing component enterprises to fundamentally strengthen their software-hardware collaboration and build comprehensive system-level capabilities. As whole vehicles become increasingly intelligent and connected, the software control and system integration levels of what were once traditional mechanical components are continuously improving, becoming far more complex and crucial. Leading component enterprises have already recognized and adapted to these evolving vehicle development demands, expanding their capabilities from purely hardware-focused solutions to integrated hardware-software solutions. This means a component might still be a physical part, but its functionality and performance are increasingly defined and controlled by embedded software and its ability to integrate seamlessly into a larger vehicle system.
So it's a massive reorientation for R&D, moving from purely mechanical engineering to software and systems. What's the biggest challenge there for Chinese suppliers?
Well, this raises an important point for Chinese component companies. The sources explicitly state they should quickly compensate for shortcomings in software control and cross-domain integration to shape system-level solution capabilities.
Compensate for shortcomings. So they see a gap there.
There's an acknowledged gap, yes. This isn't a minor adjustment. It means a major strategic shift in their R&D and engineering focus. It demands a deeper understanding of software architecture, complex data processing, cybersecurity, and integrated system performance, rather than just optimizing for mechanical precision and material science alone. The core insight is that for Chinese component companies, mastering software and integration is no longer a luxury, but an absolute necessity for competitive survival and leadership in the intelligent vehicle era.
And how does China's incredibly fast pace of new car launches affect component suppliers? It seems like Chinese OEMs are bringing new models to market at a speed unseen anywhere else in the world. How do suppliers keep up?
The pace is indeed exhilarating, yeah, and it's highlighted in the report as a distinct trend of faster R&D speed that profoundly impacts component suppliers. The Chinese automotive market has entered what the report calls an era of high-frequency new product launches, with OEMs driving rapid product iteration through unprecedented efficiency improvements in their R&D processes. The sources provide striking figures to illustrate this. Between 2010 and 2023, the number of new passenger car models launched annually in China surged dramatically from approximately 260 to around 630.
Wow, more than doubled.
Easily. What's even more significant than the sheer volume is the substantial increase in the proportion of annual and mid-cycle facelift models, reflecting automakers' continuous and accelerated efforts to update their product portfolios. Rapidly introducing new products to capture consumer attention has clearly become a common and essential strategy for OEMs in this highly competitive market.
So automakers are constantly refreshing their lineups. How much faster are Chinese OEMs compared to their foreign counterparts in terms of development cycles?
Crucially, Chinese OEMs are continually enhancing their R&D efficiency, significantly shortening product development cycles. Compared to foreign brands, which average 54 months for new model development, Chinese autonomous brands only require about 24 months, less than half the time.
24 months versus 54. That's incredible speed.
Incredible. Some new forces in the market have compressed this even further to an astonishing 14-18 months. This rapid acceleration is primarily achieved by streamlining processes, adopting agile methodologies, and enhancing overall efficiency across the development pipeline. This means Chinese component enterprises must adapt to OEM's new requirements for rapid development and support. They need to achieve this through agile organizations and processes, providing more efficient service responses and faster technological iteration. The core insight is that this relentless pace of innovation in China forces component suppliers to operate at an unprecedented speed, turning agility into a key competitive advantage. This presents a massive challenge for traditional suppliers, but also a huge opportunity for nimble and responsive players who can keep pace with this relentless drive for innovation and speed.
It sounds like a relentless drive for innovation and speed is reshaping the entire ecosystem. What about the trend of advanced tech configurations quickly becoming standard across different vehicle segments, even lower-cost ones? It almost sounds like a race to the bottom, where premium features become baseline very fast.
That's a great way to put it. This is what the report refers to as configuration upgrade, and it describes a phenomenon of what's termed technological configuration involution. Easy one. This essentially means intense internal competition, leading to the rapid proliferation and commoditization of advanced features across various vehicle segments. Leading configurations, initially exclusive to intelligent cockpits and intelligent driving in high-end vehicles, are now rapidly extending to power and chassis systems in more accessible models. New energy vehicle enterprises are accelerating the popularization of innovative technologies, aiming to create new species of vehicles across all segments with no product capability shortcomings, meaning even entry-level cars are expected to have advanced features.
So how do component suppliers deal with this involution where high-end tech becomes common so quickly? It must put immense pressure on their development and cost structures.
Well, what's key here for component suppliers is that modular and platform-based development are crucial means to achieve this cross-segment technology sharing and to amortize substantial development costs. Design once, use many times.
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
This means component suppliers need to design their products in a way that allows for easy adaptation and integration across different vehicle platforms and price points. It's about designing for scalability and versatility from the outset. Additionally, their business and brand image need high extendability and inclusivity. Their product technology needs to be highly extendable, adaptable to customers' cross-segment vehicle demands through platform-based development, ensuring a single technology can serve multiple car lines. And their brand image needs to be diverse and inclusive to match the brand image requirements of different OEMs and the various vehicle models they might be equipped in, whether it's a luxury brand or a mass-market offering. The core insight is that suppliers must develop highly scalable and adaptable technologies to thrive in a market where premium features quickly become standard, turning versatility into a critical success factor. Let's talk about something often overlooked in the B2B world, brand. Traditionally, component companies operated behind the scenes, but the report highlights a trend of brand value connotation upgrade. What does that mean for component companies, and why are they focusing on something so seemingly abstract?
This is a fascinating and somewhat counterintuitive development for B2B entities, you're right. Traditionally, B2B brands, especially in the component sector, focused heavily on communicating product technology, performance specifications, and reliability. However, the report indicates that brand building is tending towards a systematic value creation, emphasizing a brand's spiritual core and systematic expression that goes beyond just the tangible product. Leading component groups are now consciously incorporating emotional connection and universal value elements into their brand meaning, beyond just technical specifications.
Can you give us some examples of how they're doing this? It sounds very much like a consumer-facing brand strategy.
Yeah, it really does. For example, Bosch's brand vision is technology for life. which elegantly connects their innovations to broader societal benefits and human well-being, transcending mere functionality. Similarly, CATL's brand vision is even more expansive, rooted in Chinese civilization, embracing world cultures, building a world-class innovative technology company, and making outstanding contributions to humanity's new energy cause.
That's quite a statement.
It is. These examples show a conscious and deliberate effort to elevate brand meaning to a higher, more philosophical level, establishing a deeper emotional resonance and a sense of purpose that extends far beyond simply manufacturing a battery or a sensor. It's about creating a narrative that resonates with global values and aspirations. The core insight is that even in B2B, the future of brand building is about purpose and emotional connection, not just product specs. This raises an important question. How challenging is it for historically behind-the-scenes component companies to cultivate such abstract, emotional brand values and then communicate them effectively to a broader audience, including eventually the end consumer?
So if they're elevating their brand meaning, how are they actually communicating these new brand values and building that emotional connection? The report talks about content channel innovation, which sounds like a very modern approach for a B2B industry.
Leading enterprises are indeed leveraging innovative brand communication channels as an organic and vital supplement to amplify their brand voice. Their focus is shifting toward showcasing their overall brand image and leadership intellectual property, IP, aiming to build a more comprehensive brand perception that extends beyond just their individual products. The sources detail 4 main avenues they're using, demonstrating a sophisticated multi-channel marketing strategy. First, new media channels. Companies are actively using platforms like WeChat video accounts, Douyin, the Chinese equivalent of TikTok, and Zhihongshu, a lifestyle and e-commerce platform, to publish engaging content or conduct live broadcasts. They strategically link these activities with customer marketing channels for traffic generation. Examples include Benthler promoting R&D highlights for clients like Xiaomi and NIO, illustrating their advanced capabilities. And CATL, a prime example, has millions of followers on Douyin, regularly updating quality short videos and initiating live streams, all through accessible content like product tech popularization, heartwarming employee stories, and even consumer interviews. This humanizes their brand and makes complex technology relatable.
It sounds like they're directly targeting consumers through social media, almost bypassing the OEMs in a way. What other channels are they using?
Second, event creation. They're uniting with customer vehicle launches for brand promotion, strategically organizing their own product launch events, and hosting industry exchange conferences to create hot topics and generate buzz. They also actively promote the image of company executives, allowing them to convey the brand philosophy and industry insights directly. For example, Huawei's executive director and Terminal BG chairman Yu Chengdong opened a personal WeChat video account, directly connecting with a vast audience, and CATL founder Zheng Yuquan participates prominently in various forums, projecting thought leadership. Third, partnership and sponsorship. Companies are collaborating with or sponsoring high-quality sports, racing, and variety show events to reach wider and more diverse audiences.
Like you see with consumer brands.
It's exactly. This includes direct, perceptible slogans and high-traffic sports events, like CATL's exposure in European football and Olympic broadcasts, or Bosch's sponsorship of popular variety shows like Star Detective. This is about placing their brand in highly visible, engaging contexts that build recognition and positive associations, even if the audience isn't directly in the automotive industry. Finally, offline exposure. They're investing significantly in brand promotion on large screens and billboards in high-traffic public places, strategically highlighting brand slogans and leading product performance to create a strong visual presence. CATL, for instance, is noted for extensive advertising in major airports and high-speed rail stations across China. The core insight here is that leading component companies are embracing a holistic, multi-channel approach to brand building, borrowing heavily from B2C strategies to increase their visibility and influence in a transforming market.
It's fascinating to see B2B companies thinking and acting like B2C brands. Is there also a push to directly shape a C-end image for consumers, or is that still a step too far for most component suppliers?
Absolutely, this is a very interesting and evolving development, marking a significant strategic shift. The sources state that leading component enterprises have decidedly started to shape their C-end brand image based on product technical strength. The report outlines how end users' perception of B2B brands is gradually built in distinct phases. It started with 3C products, computers, communication, and consumer electronics, and core performance components like Intel chips, where consumers began to recognize the underlying technology brand.
Intel Inside.
Exactly that model. As consumer awareness expanded, users began recognizing traditional international automotive component brands like Bosch and ZF as guarantees of core vehicle performance, subtly influencing purchasing decisions.
So we're seeing a similar evolution in automotive, where consumers are increasingly aware of the component brands inside their cars. How are these companies making their brands more appealing to the everyday buyer?
Right. Now, in the new energy vehicle era, users are primarily focusing on leading battery and intelligent driving brands, with CATL and Huawei notably increasing their recognition as autonomous and technologically leading brands among the general public. The expectation is that user attention will further extend to other core automotive component sectors in the future, steadily increasing B2B brand perception and influence on consumer choice. To achieve this CN appeal, leading component enterprises are making their brand image easier to disseminate and more aesthetically pleasing. Their overall visual identity and image design are moving away from traditional industrial feel elements, becoming more flattened, simplified, and lighthearted to align with contemporary user aesthetic habits and be closer to the everyday consumer.
Making it look less
Yes,
industrial.
precisely. For instance, Bosch flattened its traditional metallic heavy logo to a cleaner, more modern look, and CATL simplified its brand communication logo for broader appeal. Crucially, to make brand value and the overall brand house design easier to understand for CN users, they are crafting evocative visuals like Bosch's Technology for Life and CATL's comprehensive vision for humanity's new energy cause. And perhaps most critically, their product marketing is no longer solely focused on professional technical parameters and performance details, which would only appeal to engineers. Instead, they are using user-perceptible, experience-driven, easy-to-understand, and memorable marketing language and technical tags.
Making it relatable.
Exactly. Examples include easy-to-remember and symbolically meaningful brand names like Kirin Battery, Quillen Battery, and Shengsing Pliel US Battery. They also design promotional slogans that are easy to understand and experiential, such as mobility without limits, all that is seen is high energy, and choose an electric car, recognize CATL battery. The core insight here is that B2B component companies are strategically shifting towards consumer-centric branding, recognizing the increasing influence of underlying technology on consumer choice and aiming to build direct emotional connections with end users.
This shift towards consumer-centric branding brings us to perhaps the biggest challenge and opportunity for Chinese component companies: internationalization. The report projects massive growth for Chinese OEMs going overseas. What are the key drivers and challenges there, and how do component suppliers fit into that global push?
Okay, internationalization. The sources project a truly significant acceleration in Chinese OEM overseas sales, estimating a massive 7 to 10 million vehicles by 2030.
7 to 10 million, that's huge.
Huge growth. This growth is driven by a confluence of powerful factors. Firstly, trade diversification is creating new market access as geopolitical landscapes shift. Secondly, the continuous release of new, quality, productive forces, essentially. Innovation-driven advancements in technology and production helps Chinese automakers overtake on Benz, allowing them to leapfrog traditional competitors with cutting-edge technology. And thirdly, the evolving Localization 2.0 approach emphasizes shared benefits and deeper integration with local economies, moving beyond simple exports to truly localized value creation, building trust and sustainability.
So a combination of new markets, technological leaps, and deeper local engagement. But what are the pitfalls or barriers they face when going global? It can't be easy.
No, definitely not. The report is clear that concurrent risks and challenges exist alongside these opportunities. Geopolitical uncertainties are rising, creating a more complex and sometimes hostile international operating environment. Global overcapacity in the automotive sector is leading to internal competition spilling overseas, intensifying price wars on a global scale. Furthermore, cognitive gaps are solidifying competitive landscapes, making it difficult for new entrants to break through established markets and brand loyalties in the short term. Despite these hurdles, the sources also highlight that Chinese component enterprises' overseas revenue is rapidly increasing, with leading companies continuously strengthening their global way out through localization. Specifically, Chinese new energy components, automotive electronics, and other component enterprises are accelerating their international expansion, widely achieving overseas revenue growth. The core insight is that the internationalization of Chinese OEMs and their component suppliers is a deeply symbiotic relationship, where each supports and pulls along the other in this ambitious global push.
So if Chinese component companies want to truly succeed internationally and overcome these significant challenges, the Roland Berger report outlines 5 key considerations. This sounds like a strategic roadmap. Can you walk us through them, starting with the first one? Overseas customer demand insight.
Certainly. Rolenberger identifies 5 key consideration elements for component enterprises going overseas, especially to address the complex new demands of localized operations. These are overseas customer demand insight, M&A and open cooperation, overseas localized manufacturing, global R&D layout, and international organization management. Each is critical for a systematic and comprehensive approach to global expansion. Let's unpack the first one in detail, overseas customer demand insight. This first element is crucial because consumer preferences, regulatory policies, and OEM technology strategies vary significantly across different automotive markets globally. A one-size-fits-all approach simply won't work. Chinese component companies must adapt their product solutions, support capabilities, and cooperation strategies to local market characteristics. This includes localized R&D, production, and service layouts to truly enhance their global competitiveness and adaptability, ensuring their offerings are relevant and compliant everywhere they operate.
So, understanding the local customer. You mentioned Chinese consumers embrace new tech, but what about Europeans? Are their preferences very different?
Yeah, the sources provide a clear contrast in consumer preferences. Chinese consumers are generally more open to electric vehicles, new mobility concepts, and intelligent technologies, embracing novelty and rapid change. European consumers, however, are described as more cautious and place greater trust in mature technologies, prioritizing reliability and proven performance. Roland Berger's Global Consumer Insight Study explicitly shows that European consumers have noticeably lower initial interest in connected car features, driving assistance services, and multimedia systems compared to Chinese consumers.
Interesting difference.
It is. However, the report adds a crucial caveat. As more models with these features become available, demand is expected to gradually increase in Europe, indicating a need for gradual market education and adaptation.
Beyond consumer preferences, what about regulations? Are they also a major factor in tailoring products for international markets?
Absolutely. Regulations are huge. Furthermore, overseas regulatory bodies and consumer organizations are actively promoting the popularization of intelligent safety functions, which Chinese component enterprises must meticulously adapt to. For example, the EU is implementing new regulations for mandatory smart safety features for vehicle type approval. Since 2019, they've introduced eCall, emergency call function. From 2022 onwards, multiple functional requirements are being phased in, including intelligent speed assist, warning for speeding, rear view detection, sensor cameras for rear collision detection, driver drowsiness and attention warning, lane keeping assist monitoring and active lane keeping, and advanced emergency braking.
A whole suite of mandatory safety tech.
Exactly. Detecting front collisions and automatically braking if no driver responds. By 2024, advanced driver distraction warning will be introduced. Simultaneously, the European New Car Assessment Program, Euro NCAP, will implement even stricter safety assessment standards in the coming years, promoting intelligent safety functions. By 2026-2028, collision assessment themes will include passenger and driver monitoring, advanced vehicle assistance systems, speed and steering control, adaptive cruise control, and the identification and avoidance of front collisions, lane departures, and acceleration collisions. This means a continuous need to update and certify safety systems. Lastly, domestic and international OEMs still show significant differences in their technology route choices. For example, regarding automotive electronic and electrical architectures, EEA, Chinese OEMs prioritize centralization and agile trial and error, driving rapid development, while foreign OEMs, based on their current architectures and established processes, emphasize safety and modular evolution, taking a more conservative approach. The core insight here is that successful internationalization requires deep, granular understanding and adaptation to regional consumer tastes, evolving regulatory landscapes, and differing OEM technology philosophies. A one-size-fits-all product strategy simply will not work globally.
That's a lot of regional variation and regulatory hurdles to navigate. So, given these significant barriers, what's the second consideration? M&A and open cooperation. Why is inorganic growth so vital for breaking into these mature markets rather than just building from scratch?
The second consideration, M&A and open cooperation, becomes crucial precisely because mature overseas automotive component markets present significant, often formidable entry barriers. These include deeply closed supply chains, complex and varied regulations, and strong localization demands that make it incredibly difficult for new, external players to penetrate. Chinese suppliers face multiple challenges in successfully entering and operating within these established markets.
What are some of those regional market challenges? For example, what makes Europe or Japan so difficult to enter for a new foreign supplier?
Okay, let's break it down. The report details these challenges by region, highlighting their distinct natures. The European market demands strict technical certifications and standards for every component, and also places a high emphasis on local engineering service capabilities. This poses significant brand trust and compliance adaptation challenges for Chinese suppliers, who must prove their adherence to rigorous quality and regulatory frameworks. The Japanese and Korean markets are characterized by highly closed systems and a strong sense of local protectionism, making them particularly difficult to crack. OEMs and Tier 1 suppliers in these regions are deeply integrated, prioritizing local procurement and often establishing unique local standards that act as barriers.
Very insular markets.
Extremely. For Chinese suppliers, entering such systems as outsiders is incredibly difficult due to profound cultural barriers and high technical thresholds. The North American market emphasizes local manufacturing and support, has its own unique local certification systems like FMVSS, Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standards, the core U.S. safety regulations, and faces high trade policy uncertainty, leading to challenges related to local delivery and significant cost pressures for Chinese suppliers, particularly with fluctuating tariffs and trade relations.
So given these incredibly high barriers, organic entry is tough. How do M&A or joint ventures help companies leapfrog these challenges?
Exactly. Given these high-barrier environments, the sources state unequivocally that M&A, joint ventures, and other non-organic methods become options Chinese suppliers must consider as alternatives to slow, organic market entry. Overseas acquisition, or the buyout model, involves acquiring small to medium-sized colocated enterprises. This offers stronger business decision-making power and the ability to rapidly gain market share, with critical focus on post-investment management and integration to improve R&D, manufacturing, and procurement efficiency. Overseas joint ventures like Huayu Automotive's ventures with Adient, ABB, and Toyota Tsusho involve partnering with leading overseas component groups to achieve synergistic resource advantages, combining Chinese scale and efficiency with local market knowledge and established networks. Overseas M&A can help companies rapidly expand into entirely new product categories, achieve rapid entry and transformation within specific market segments, and facilitate the development of new regions, quickly acquiring local sales channels, human resources, and essential ecosystem partners.
It sounds like M&A needs a very structured approach. What are the key evaluation points for selecting the right M&A target?
Yes, the report also emphasizes that selecting M&A targets requires a systematic and rigorous evaluation process. It's not just about buying something. The first step is to assess the target's market ranking and business competitiveness, ensuring it's a valuable asset. The second step is to evaluate its regional and business complementarity with the acquiring company, looking for strategic fit. Is it filling a gap?
Does it make sense strategically?
Exactly. The third step involves assessing the investment input versus output, considering financial metrics such as priced earnings, PE multiples, and return on investment. The core insight here is that M&A and strategic partnerships are not merely financial transactions, but critical tools for overcoming entrenched market barriers and rapidly building local capabilities and trust in mature automotive markets.
Okay, overseas localized manufacturing is the third consideration for internationalization. Why has this become a necessary path for Chinese component companies moving beyond just exporting their products? It seems like a massive undertaking.
The third consideration, overseas localized manufacturing, has evolved significantly from being merely compliance-driven to a proactive strategic layout, becoming an absolutely necessary path for Chinese component enterprises to truly go global. In recent years, Chinese component companies have accelerated their localized layouts in overseas markets for a multitude of interconnected reasons. Firstly, it's crucial to support Chinese automakers expanding overseas ecosystems, acting as an integrated part of their global supply chain. Secondly, it's a direct response to avoiding increasing trade barriers and navigating complex compliance pressures that can hinder exports.
Getting around tariffs and regulations.
Basically. Thirdly, establishing local production helps reduce overall costs and delivery risks associated with long-distance shipping and complex logistics. Fourthly, local manufacturing allows them to effectively expand their overseas customer base and enhance service capabilities, as proximity facilitates stronger relationships. And finally, it's about seizing emerging markets and capitalizing on policy dividends offered by host countries to attract manufacturing.
Can you give us some real-world examples of this localized manufacturing in action?
Sure. For example, Foresys Energy announced in February 2025 that its Thai battery factory officially commenced production to support multiple new energy vehicle models under Great Wall and Hosan, directly enabling their clients' overseas push. Another compelling example is Linglong Tire, which announced in August 2024 an investment of 4.6 billion RMB to expand its Serbian project, explicitly aiming to leverage free trade agreements to avoid a 25% tariff, thereby deepening its global strategy. These are concrete examples of companies actively building local production bases to gain competitive advantages.
Building factories overseas sounds incredibly risky, though. What are some of the biggest challenges or pitfalls companies face when doing this?
Oh, absolutely. The report also highlights that Chinese component enterprises face multiple high-level risks when deploying localized manufacturing overseas. These are not minor issues. Common risks for overseas factories include misjudgments of capacity demand, potentially leading to long-term overcapacity and financial strain.
Building too big a factory.
It's exactly. Strong union opposition, which can lead to disruptive strikes and complex negotiation risks. Difficulties in employee management under cross-cultural contexts, often resulting in high turnover rates if not handled adeptly. Poor compliance performance due to complex and ever-changing environmental, safety, and tax requirements in different jurisdictions. Navigating local laws. Right, uncertainty in legal environments, particularly in regions with imperfect legal systems and unstable enforcement, and the risk of asset depreciation in laws due to unforeseen circumstances. To mitigate these significant risks, enterprises need to deeply evaluate market, policy, and supply chain conditions before factory construction. They must also diligently enhance local management and compliance capabilities, optimize their workforce and labor relations through culturally sensitive approaches, and establish comprehensive asset management and exit strategies to effectively reduce operational risks. The core insight here is that overseas localized manufacturing, while a strategic necessity, is a complex, multifaceted undertaking that demands meticulous planning and execution to mitigate significant risks.
That's a lot to consider just for manufacturing. What about global R&D layout as the fourth consideration? Why is that essential for Chinese component companies to truly succeed in internationalization beyond just manufacturing locally?
The fourth consideration, global R&D layout, is indeed considered a necessary path for Chinese component enterprises to achieve internationalization in the long term. The sources argue that having R&D layouts in various regions globally will be a critical lever to support enterprise market entry, facilitate technology absorption from diverse ecosystems, and achieve significant cost optimization. It's about being strategically smart and efficient with their innovation efforts on a global scale. The primary driver for this global R&D presence is market access, enabling enterprises to better respond to local needs and tailor products specifically for regional preferences and regulatory requirements. Secondly, it's about acquiring proprietary technology. Overseas R&D layouts allow enterprises to tap into global innovation resources, stay close to cutting-edge technologies being developed in key tech hubs, and attract top scientific talent from around the world rather than relying solely on domestic talent pools. Accessing global talent, precisely. Thirdly, it's about cost reduction, achieved through directly lowering R&D costs in more competitive labor markets, obtaining local subsidies or incentives from governments eager to attract R&D investment, and enjoying beneficial tax policies.
So it's about proximity to markets, talent, and cost efficiencies. And the report notes shifts in where these R&D hubs are located globally.
Yes, what's fascinating here is the report's observation that the distribution of best cost countries and regions for R&D is changing due to evolving global dynamics. Preliminary indications suggest that R&D layouts are strategically shifting away from geopolitically sensitive regions towards Latin America, the United States, and Asian regions outside of China.
So diversifying R&D locations.
Exactly. This signals a deliberate strategic diversification of R&D hubs, aiming to reduce risks and optimize resource allocation in a changing world order. To make informed R&D layout decisions, the sources propose 4 comprehensive dimensions that companies should consider. 1. Cost competitiveness. This includes a detailed analysis of factors like full-time equivalent, FTE employee costs for engineers, office space rent, local tax rates, labor laws, overall operational cost differences, and specific regulatory legal costs. FTE costs, rent, and tax rates are specifically identified as the main variables for regional benchmarking, allowing companies to compare the true cost of R&D across different locations. 2. Economic ecosystem. This encompasses the broader business environment, assessment of geopolitical risks, the presence of key competitors, potential partners and suppliers, available economic incentives, and the level of government support and assistance. Assessing the business and political risks of a region, along with the local government's willingness to support and attract R&D, is crucial for long-term viability. 3. Talent supply. This considers factors like the percentage of the working-age population, the number of universities, colleges, student enrollment rates, existing university cooperation projects, labor retention trends, and the competitive landscape for talent recruitment. More working-age population and a higher number of university students generally mean more ample and sustainable local talent reserves for R&D. 4. Strategic alignment. This evaluates how well the chosen location matches the company's overall strategy and priorities. Key questions include whether the new location can support existing capacity optimization, meet customer needs for market proximity and engineering resources, or contribute directly to achieving broader strategic goals through cost reduction, enhanced business resilience, or accelerated innovation. The core insight is that global R&D layout is a multidimensional strategic chess move, critical for market relevance, tech acquisition, and long-term cost efficiency.
Finally, the fifth and arguably most challenging consideration is international organization management. The report even calls for making internationalization a number one project for these companies. Why is that internal organizational aspect so crucial, and what are the specific challenges they face when trying to become truly global?
Right. For true internationalization to take root and flourish, component enterprises must fundamentally optimize their international organization management, truly elevating internationalization to a number one project across the entire company. It can't be an afterthought or a separate department. It needs to be integrated at the highest level. The sources present Rolenberger's STAR Overseas Organization and Governance model as a comprehensive framework comprising 4 integrated layers of internal management structure designed to fully mobilize internal resources and facilitate the profound transformation from a Chinese headquarters to a truly global headquarters.
That's a strong statement, a no one project. What are some of the typical internal struggles companies face that make this so difficult?
Well, the report identifies several current challenges that many companies face in international business control, which underscore why this is so critical. Firstly, there are often lagging control and decision-making mechanisms, characterized by unclear responsibilities.
Things get stuck.
Things get stuck, exactly, often stemming from international business lacking a clear reporting line, or an international business unit company lacking defined scope compared to HQ functions. Internationalization might not be elevated to top leader project status, leading to insufficient resource allocation and authorization, and a lack of clear norms for meeting and decision-making processes, which can cripple responsiveness.
So, a lack of clear ownership and slow decisions. What else makes it challenging?
Secondly, there's a pervasive lack of cross-departmental and cross-regional coordination mechanisms. International business often struggles to effectively leverage core HQ resources like product R&D, brand management, manufacturing, and supply chain.
Silos between HQ and the regions.
Big silos. Responsibilities and reporting lines between HQ functions and overseas regions are frequently unclear, lacking effective mechanisms for shared accountability and synergy, leading to inefficiency. Thirdly, control models are mismatched and systems are incomplete. Organizational design might be out of sync with business development stages, meaning the structure doesn't support the current international growth phase. There's often insufficient experience in establishing and managing regional companies, and front, middle, and back office responsibilities are poorly defined, leading to operational friction. Control models and authorization systems are frequently not effectively implemented, hindering efficient operations. Finally, local support capabilities are weak and foundational systems are fragile. Domestic and international KPI assessments are not effectively linked, creating misaligned incentives. The international talent system is incomplete, lacking robust mechanisms for local talent development and retention. Overseas business processes often simply replicate domestic models without adaptation, and digital systems have poor overseas adaptability, leading to insufficient data sharing and business support capabilities. The core insight is that internationalization is as much an internal organizational transformation as it is an external market expansion.
That's a lot of internal hurdles, from decision-making to talent and processes. How does the STAR model, with its 4 layers, specifically address these complex internal challenges and help enterprises truly become global players, transforming from a Chinese HQ to a global one?
Right, the Rolenberger STAR model is precisely designed to tackle these specific internal issues, helping enterprises overcome fragmented internationalization efforts and build a cohesive global operation. The S stands for Strategy Decision Layer. This layer focuses on strengthening top-level coordination, ensuring that internationalization is a company-wide priority. This can involve senior leadership directly heading special working groups focused on international business or having dedicated high-level meetings specifically for overseas operations. The primary goal here is to rapidly make decisions and implement strategies, particularly resolving chronic organizational coordination issues. It ensures that internationalization is indeed a top leader project with clear responsibilities and rapid decision-making processes, injecting agility at the highest level.
So, getting leadership deeply involved and streamlining decision-making for global operations. What's the T in STAR?
The T stands for Team Engagement Layer. This layer is about clarifying the key areas where domestic operations empower international business and establishing concrete assessment mechanisms for synergy and implementation. It outlines 6 critical functions for domestic enablement: establishing service and spare parts process systems, controlling the entire overseas R&D process, coordinating overseas customer sales, extending domestic OEM customer relations overseas, building overseas brand architecture and marketing systems, establishing overseas product quality management systems, and setting up robust overseas manufacturing and supply chain systems.
Making sure HQ actually supports the global team.
Exactly. This ensures that the entire organization, from R&D to sales, effectively supports the global effort, breaking down internal silos.
So, a framework for the whole company to support global efforts. And the A.
The A stands for Architecture and Global Control Layer. This layer involves evolving the organization based on internationalization development stages, following principles of from nothing to something, establishing initial presence, from concurrent to dedicated, moving from shared responsibilities to specialized international teams, and from back to front, shifting focus from purely administrative support to direct market engagement. This means the regional organizational form evolves from setting up an independent international business entity to establishing national sales companies, NSCs, and then to group directly managed regions. Functional completeness evolves from focusing on sales and service expansion to extending product, brand, production, and supply functions, and eventually achieving full institutionalized functional operations, reflecting growing maturity.
It sounds like a gradual but deliberate scaling up of the global footprint and capabilities. And finally, the R in STAR.
Finally, the R stands for a reliable support layer. This layer focuses on bolstering traditional talent management systems, coupled with cultural integration and comprehensive talent training mechanisms to strengthen the overseas talent pool, which is the backbone of global operations. The report identifies 5 critical dimensions for talent support. 1. Overseas talent quantity planning, balancing top-down sales targets with bottom-up core function coverage for realistic staffing. 2. Overseas talent structure design, ensuring a high proportion of localized talent for front-end market expansion and customer-facing roles, with balanced proportions for other functions, respecting local expertise. 3. Overseas talent capability requirements, building a team with a 3-dimensional matrix of professional capabilities, technical expertise, global collaboration capabilities working across cultures, and regional in-depth capabilities, local market understanding. 4. Overseas talent management mechanisms, respecting cultural differences, granting reasonable authorization, fully utilizing local talent, using efficient management tools, fostering cultural exchange, and establishing a PDCA, Plan-Do-Check Act, mechanism to monitor and continuously optimize integration effects. 5. Overseas talent cultivation system, acquiring internationally capable internal and external talent through methods like selecting a batch, promoting internal global leaders, recruiting a batch, hiring externally, training a batch, developing existing staff, and cooperating with a batch, partnering with external experts. The core insight from the STAR model is that true global transformation requires a systematic, multi-layered organizational overhaul, making internationalization a fundamental part of the company's DNA, not just an external project. This raises an important question for you to consider. Which of these 5 considerations, customer insight, M&A, localized manufacturing, R&D layout, or international organization management, do you think presents the biggest hurdle for Chinese component companies right now, and why?
Wow. What an incredibly detailed deep dive into the world of automotive components. From the unexpected revenue shifts globally to China's rapid rise and the fascinating transformation of OEM supplier relationships, we've seen just how dynamic and complex this industry truly is. It's clear that success in this new era hinges on not just technological prowess, but also deep strategic adaptability and a willingness to reinvent fundamental business models, even down to how companies brand themselves for an end consumer. The traditional rules of the game are truly being rewritten.
Indeed. If we connect this to the bigger picture, The insights from this report truly underscore that the automotive supply chain is no longer just a supporting function. It's a strategic battleground where innovation, localization, and organizational agility determine market leadership. The shift towards Tier point 5 service providers,
Yeah.
the emphasis on CN branding for B2B companies, and the rigorous framework for internationalization all point to a future where deep integration and sophisticated global management are non-negotiable for success. Those companies that embrace these changes wholeheartedly will be the ones that thrive.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener, as you navigate this rapidly changing landscape, perhaps in your own industry or simply as someone seeking to understand global shifts? Perhaps the ultimate takeaway is this. In an industry defined by disruption, the ability to transform not just products, but entire organizational structures and strategic outlooks is the true engine of future growth. It's about constant evolution and adapting to new realities.
This raises an important question for you to consider as you reflect on what we've discussed. As the automotive industry continues its profound transformation, how might the strategies and challenges discussed today, from adapting to new value chains and geopolitical shifts to rethinking branding and global management, echo or diverge in other global manufacturing sectors? What lessons could be applied beyond the auto industry itself into fields that are also grappling with rapid technological change and shifting global dynamics?
That's a fantastic thought to leave you with, something to mull over as you think about the future of business and technology. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the 2025 global automotive supply chain. We hope you're now feeling well informed and ready to tackle whatever comes next in this fascinating world.